Mini episode 1003 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode number 1003. You've got two great FDH Lounge dignitaries with you here today, Rick Morris and Jake Digman. Jake Digman, of course, the FDH MMA editor, as it were, and we are breaking down the aftermath of the Stipe title fight from this past Saturday night. And again, very sad, as we are both big Stipe partisans. Me largely because Stipe is a hometown guy, and Stipe is a friend of a friend, although I've never met him personally. The friend that I'm speaking of is, of course, Jake Digman, who was his personal ring announcer, a.k.a. Ricardo Rodriguez, for a good chunk of his career. You like that, huh?
That's a nice compliment. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, my shorthand for you, Jake, is world's greatest MMA ring announcer, so, of course, you as an MMA ring announcer and exec back in the day got to be fast friends with him, so I am going to start this out by just extending my personal condolences to you, because I know it's never pleasant to see something like that happen to a friend, so I'm just going to start on the personal level. I'm sorry about it on that level.
Oh, I mean, it is what it is. It's not like he died. It's just what I mean. It is the nature of the beast that it does happen every once in a... It does happen, and there's an old saying in the fight game, you can tell the measure of what you're made of after you lose.
Yep.
So, and true champions rise back up, and he's a true champion and a champion of the people, and when the time is right, I'm sure we'll see him back in there again, but the way things fell after the way the cards fell on Saturday, who knows what that's going to be.
You know what? Let's actually start with the post-fight. We can circle back around to the fight itself, which wasn't very eventful, unfortunately, but the post-fight is what everybody came out of it looking at, and I had alluded to this to you off-air as far as a convergence on the timeline. You and I have talked about this in the past a number of times on and off, as far as the original evolution of professional wrestling from being professionalized amateur wrestling to, on the carny circuit, somewhere in the early 1900s, being what it became today. MMA took a huge step down the de-evolutionary curve, if you will, on Saturday night by putting the WWE Universal Champion there. Is this going to be a title versus title fight? One wonders, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But to go in that direction, simply because the guy can go in there and cut an R-rated or F-rated, as it were, promo, the likes of which he can't do in WWE, the fact that it's box office and no other reason, he cuts to the front of the line. Can you really discern that much between MMA and pro wrestling at this point?
No, they are both sports entertainment at this point,
yep.
But also at the same time, I consider anything that somebody that is a paid professional, that someone as a consumer is paying their hard-earned money for, it's all sports entertainment, whether it be NFL, baseball, NBA. I mean, you follow the offseason and the NBA, that's just as much sports entertainment as anything else. I mean,
right.
The NBA Finals, Draymond, everyone in Cleveland hates Draymond Green. I bring to them, you don't have LeBron or boys, right? They're friends. It's a work. Like, wait, what? And their mind just blown. I mean, it is what it is, and if you look at what it's interesting because there was a time 4 or 5 years ago, we'll even go even further back when the NAAFS was on its heyday, and we were doing the fight shows where Stipe came up through here and all the local guys and myself and whatnot. There was a point in time where the UFC wanted to separate itself so much so from the WWE that it was had this fear, the stigma was going to attach to it, and gradually, over the course of time, really, so Brock Lesnar came in, and this isn't really a kind of, this isn't not like this is something unprecedented. Brock Lesnar had one UFC fight, lost, came back, won the second fight against, quite frankly, well past his prime, Heath Herring, and all of a sudden was given a title shot.
Right.
They skipped the foreplay and they just dove straight in this time, and they're like, they're not going to get hiding any bones about it. They're not trying to claim that, it's a sporting league, like, where they have a ranking system like boxing allegedly has, or whomever. It's to this point now with the UFC. You can sell, make us money. You can sell pay-per-views, and no one, if you look at the course of history, no one has sold more pay-per-views than Brock Lesnar in the UFC.
Right.
So that's why Brock Lesnar gets a title shot. It's all about the money. And a little twist of irony, it's the same reason Brock Lesnar is the WWE champion too.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk we'd be living in a world where the WWE champion is going in to face the UFC champion? I mean, why else was CM Punk on the pay-per-view? That one right there was more of an abomination to the sport of mixed martial arts than this one was, in my opinion.
Right.
That was awful. I've seen guys at local gyms that have, like, independents that are else do better than that crap was.
Exactly, and he was pretty much just local gym guy. In the case of Brock Lesnar the first time around, I'm not going to defend it on this basis, but you're talking about a guy that was a legitimate NCAA heavyweight champion, a guy who came in with obviously the amateur credentials that predated WWE, so he was a little bit fresher off of that. I mean, still a couple of years off of it at that point. Obviously, he can't go back to that card right now, but for him just to cut right in front of the line here, again, this is the whole thing too. He didn't even enter the drug testing protocol until this week, so he can't fight until January. Well, that's the thing. Stipe, by all rights, should get the rematch in December because they love to do a big one over the holidays. They're going to voluntarily, Jake, not put the heavyweight championship of the world on that huge December card just so they can hold it off another month for Brock Lesnar. It disgusts me.
Me personally, this is fantasy booking 101.
Okay.
I would have done things a little bit differently.
Okay.
I would have done what you were saying. I would have done given Stipe the rematch. The guy defended the title 3 times successfully.
Right.
Okay, won the championship. No one in history has ever done that.
Right.
That is deserving of an automatic rematch right there. He pretty much wiped out the division, and they had to bring in the light heavyweight champion. Basically, just has to eat more donuts.
Right.
If you looked at him, he looked like he ate more donuts.
Right.
Love DC, great guy. But if I were fantasy booking this, what I would have done was given this super payday, where I would have done Stipe versus DC2, and then I would have done the super fight of Brock Lesnar versus John Jones, because then you get let's face facts. John Jones would whoop Brock. You there?
Yeah.
Okay. John Jones would whoop Brock Lesnar.
Right.
I mean, it's calling a spade at this point. John Jones would whoop Brock Lesnar, and then you have the intriguing storyline of either the dream matchup of Stipe and John Jones, or the ghost that haunts Daniel Cormier's life in DC and John Jones.
Right.
I think there'd be so much. The UFC, lots of times, Dana White at this point now, and again, UFC is owned by an entertainment company now, not by the Fertittas. They're owned by an entertainment agency. They're just looking to get the most amount of money they can quick. And Brock Lesnar challenging for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the world. You can't tell me there's not a little part of you as a wrestling fan, if you see him walking out of the cage and Paul Heyman with a smug look on his face holding the Universal Championship up behind him as he gets into the ring, that there will be a large portion of the WWE audience who are going to shell down money to watch that fight and hope that Brock Lesnar, at the end of it, is standing tall holding 2 belts.
Well, yeah.
I can't believe I'm even saying that. This is so weird what things have become.
I hope they let him wear the fruit roll-up belt to the ring, just because that would be amazing. if that happened. I get hungry every time I'm looking at that thing. It's that, or I don't even think I want to go here, but I will anyways. Fruit roll-ups / edible underwear, as far as what they're made out of.
Oh no!
Yeah. I.e., do you think so?
Brock Lesnar doesn't listen to this. Rick Morris, he was a good friend.
If he does, here's how I make sure that he's going to kill me. You think Sable's ever worn the belt down there? Down where? Down there.
Well, luckily Brock Lesnar doesn't have the internet, so we're safe.
Well, that's true. But, you were talking about the Fertittas don't even own UFC anymore. Didn't one of them buy the Rockets? Because to me, it'd be less of an abortion if they signed Brock Lesnar to replace Trevor Ariza right now.
No, they're trying to do the NBA equivalent of that inside Mello. They got their own train wreck problem to worry about.
Oh, way to top me with the Mello reference, bro. That was oh, God.
He's a name from a decade ago, but he only has 3 moves.
It is always a fun experience to play. Can you top this with Jake Digman? Because when he tops you, it's a good one. And that was a good one right there. Well done, my friend. So, again, I told you coming into this thing off air, I was going to be jaded about the way it unfolded post-show. But as far as the fight itself, and this is a thing where, and I did not realize this on Facebook, this had to have been greased by apparently you being a friend of mine or putting in a word for me or something, but there was this Stipe fan club that I joined like a while back, and I didn't realize it's the one actually like administered by his family, so I was really honored by that. Yeah, I mean, that was... so
that was like when he first started in the UFC.
That's right. So it's like I've been part of this. It pops up on my Facebook wall, and I never comment. I'm just a lurker, but it's just fun seeing what people post. But afterwards, again, and I'm glad to see that it has dissipated in the last couple of days. But there was a lot of really, really, really salty stuff on there about the eye poke, and he got cheated and whatever. So, I mean, I'm just going to ask you, I talked to you a little bit about this off air, but break it down a little bit, the extent to which, again, we'll give Cormier the benefit of the doubt, probably unintentional. That was probably not the pro wrestling move right there of poke him in the eye, Ric Flair style, but as far as it goes, who can say, because Cormier's capable of getting in there with a flurry, maybe it would have happened anyways. Do you have any sense about whether it could have affected the outcome?
I mean, it may have. You can't really tell. I mean, other than like being in there, as I told you off the air, I haven't read anything. Stipe hasn't posted anything or said anything about it.
Right. He's too classy.
I mean, and as soon as it happened, he they touched gloves. I was like, hey, I mean, and DC was like, my bad. I think he was reaching out. They came in, you're trying to get your distance, and sometimes it happens. Right. Then again, also, and I'm not saying this was the case, but I have been involved in the sport of MMA for 13 years. There are people that have told me they're going to get away with whatever they can, whenever they can, inside that cage. And sometimes, if you can get away with something, you do. It just is what it is. I'm not saying that DC did that intentionally. And when all is said and done, in the history books, no one's going to remember that. Just like when George St. Pierre wanted to become like the greatest welterweight champion of all time, everybody forgets that he kicks Matt Hughes in the nuts twice with the title.
Right.
So it's like, and the second one was pretty blatant when he did it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. And he got, I am sorry, I didn't mean to kick you in the nuts. And then he kicked him in the nuts again. I'm sorry, your nuts getting way off my foot.
Well, as far as people remembering stuff like this, I'll never forget this just because, again, you are such a vortex in the world of MMA in terms of people that you know and everything like that. I remember one time on Facebook, you were making a comment about something about the political system, and it was something about, it was from a jaded point of view about how dirty the system. Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it was BJ Penn who responded to you with, the system is greasier than GSP's back. And I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Good times.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
Some of the things where if you get an inch, you're going to take a mile. But and again, I haven't talked to Stipe about this, so I don't want to speak for him. But just like knowing his team and knowing him, and there's no excuses to be made. If they're going to make an excuse, like, here's what it is. They're going to sit there, and that's just, they're too classy of individuals. But it also goes back to the point before, if there is a shadow of doubt due to whatever the reason may be, the answer is always simple, a rematch. However, here's where things are like, now, you could tell the work was going on. I actually read some comments who were made after that by Brock Lesnar through Dana White, I think. It was in the post-fight press conference. And basically Brock had told Dana White that he was expecting Stipe to win. So that was kind of like what he was like leaning towards. And like if you watched, I don't know if you had a chance to actually watch the entire fight, but before the fight even happens, Brock comes walking down to the ring like right before the main event with Dana White, like it's his manager, and sits in the front row. And you're just like, okay, it was the most WWE-esque thing ever. at the end of it, when DC's doing this thing, and I don't know if you had a chance to watch the post-fight promo, when he takes the microphone from Joe Rogan knows what's about to happen, because he's laughing. He has like a smile on his face, and he's kind of laughing already, like, okay, I guess we're going here. And then he cuts in. DC is a lifelong pro wrestling fan. I mean, there's videos of him. There's actually a really funny video of him at WrestleMania 31. Is that the one where Seth Rollins cashed in?
Yes.
There's a video of him at WrestleMania 31, and Rollins catches in, and he's cheering, and there's like a meme, and it's Brock Lesnar on the top, like he's coming for DC now because he was cheering against him at that WrestleMania. So like he's a huge. He's on like Steve Austin's podcast. He's on a bunch of podcasts. He's a huge. So for a lifelong pro wrestling fan, you have to think he was salivating in that situation to play babyface pro wrestler. I mean, Brock Lesnar cut the best promo. Like he can cut that promo. He hasn't cut a promo like that in the WWE ever. I mean, granted, he can't like cut person and all that stuff. But it's like, and I was almost half tempted. Like, I can't wait for the build to this. And you take Paul Heyman with him. I mean, if that happens, I'm on board. If the UFC embedded show is, ladies and gentlemen, my client Brock Lesnar will be training for his upcoming battle. He is the reigning, defending WWE Universal Champion. And just like they keep that going, like, what? But the thing, this is what I can't help but wonder. Okay, so DC, as much as he is, he's a businessman. He's a very much, a dual champion UFC guy. Being a wrestling fan, he was definitely, I'm going to borrow a pun that's popular in wrestling right now, he was definitely all in for this opportunity with Brock. You could tell it was kind of there, and Brock came in. If Stipe won the fight, I just had this feeling like Stipe would be like, I'm going home. Apparently they want me to challenge Brock Lesnar now, so I guess I'm challenging Brock Lesnar. I'm going to go back home to my wife and kid. And that would have been it. I really don't see the whole thing. Or Brock just would have came in the ring and been like, you suck. I mean, I can't help but wonder what that would have been like. But, the only thing out of everything, sure, I'm saddened to see my friend lose. I'm more saddened to see that my friend won't get that big paycheck. Because at the end of the day, this is a business. And it's about making money. And everyone could be like, oh, the integrity of the sport. No. You want to watch the integrity of a sport? Go watch some amateur kids do it that are doing it for the love of it. And I don't care what sport it is. Once someone is a professional and they're making millions of dollars to do something, it's a business and they're about to protect their brand. That's why LeBron's in LA now. It is what it is. It's
exactly.
About the brand. That's it. There ain't no integrity once money is involved.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now, I'm going to float another conspiracy theory to you. Tell me what you think about this, because I know that the word's been out there for a period of time about Stipe and the wife expecting their first child. This whole thing about, Dana White graciously threw him a bone, put him on the big Independence Day weekend card, whatever. You think Dana White was sitting there with a calendar going, what's about 9 months out from thus and such? When can we make sure he would be maximum distracted? That's my newest conspiracy theory, is Dana White knew what he was doing getting him to fight July 7th.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not going to go into major details on this. Just because I'm not going to name any names, but I will say this: I have talked to people who know people who work with people, and if you want to connect the dots, more power to you. And they pretty much told me that said person is an a-hole. And he's an a-hole and has only the intentions of, again, he is a business person who is he's a West Coast mentality Vegas guy. So this is the same company that didn't know how to market a guy that was a blue collar from the Midwest, had an entire country backing him, let alone a city where I know everyone around here, everyone in Cleveland wants to, will let them believe that LeBron broke the curse, but Stipe broke the curse.
He did. I always say that.
So it was like, It is what it is, and you can't market around that. They did it for one show with the UFC in Cleveland, and they did a lukewarm job at best at that one. And then ever since then, just kind of like, they're like, okay, I mean, if you watched all the promotion of everything, it was like, the Ngannou fight.
Right.
Oh, by the way, there's someone, you talk about a star whose stock who has fallen, plummeted.
Right.
Oh, my God. Two fights ago, he was going to be the next champion. And, oh, my God, that's great. 2 fights later, his fight was so boring. Brock Lesnar just jumped right past him.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Showing up.
Pretty much, exactly. Yeah, I mean that guy is an example of somebody that's got a great future behind him. But when you look at the whole Brock Lesnar angle of this, circling around here to the final kind of loop that I have for this, and that is the WWE angle, deservedly so. Their lowest ratings for Raw since I think like 1993. I mean, absolute shite ratings with like no excuse for Monday Night Football or whatever. So, hey, lo and behold, taking your most important title off of TV for a year and a half might have a deleterious effect on your product. Hashtag who knew? So you look at this whole thing, and again, it doesn't matter because you got the idiots at major conglomerates like NBC Universal and Fox lining up to throw money hand-over-jerking fist for their TV contracts in 2019. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter anyways. I guess Vince has gotten to a post-quality world as far as making cash. But again, for the rest of us, you don't have to be Einstein to connect the dots on something like this, where the WWE looks absolutely pathetic. This was basically like the Medusa with the trash can in the garbage moment, as far as Brock showing up on that pay-per-view, I thought.
I wouldn't. I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on that.
Okay.
Only because, Medusa showing up on Nitro with the thing on the garbage can was a direct shot at the WWE.
Right.
And it was like, we're going against. Brock has Vince McMahon's 100% blessing doing this.
Right.
It's not like he showed up there with the Universal title and was like, I'm sick of this fake piece of crap. I want that real. But he didn't do that.
Right.
He didn't do that at all. He didn't make any reference to it. Didn't do anything. He just actually was a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
He came out, if anything, he was the embodiment representing being a pro wrestler coming out there, and was like, okay, came in and cut a promo and set up a match, like old school pro wrestling. What I find very weird is just like what strange times we're living in, kind of harkening back what you just mentioned. Could you imagine at any point in time, Vince, like even as recently as 5 years ago, Vince letting one of his performers, let alone one of his world champions, appear on another brand and set up a match on there? It's like, wait, what? But in the mindset of Vince, I can only assume this. I guess we'd have to call our pencil friend on this one. He has the mentality that it's going to put more eyes on WWE. And in a weird way it is. Because, they have a working agreement. I mean, they have. Dana even said that. He has Vince's full permission to do this. Vince is on board, knows what's happening. Now, that's something I would love to see. Vince McMahon cage-side at a UFC event. I mean, Dana White was ringside for WrestleMania.
Well,
I don't think Vince and Brock are really that tight. And I think Vince would be watching the entire time going, man, pal, that doesn't know how to work. You don't look at the camera to show his facial expressions, to show his emotion.
Their camera work is shoddy here. They couldn't catch him looking into the hard cam.
You call it a chinlock?
Where's their version of NXT to show people how to look into the camera, damn it?
What are you guys doing? But, I mean, I see where you're coming from on it. I just kind of view it as a different thing for a different era and a different time. Now, my friend Yuri said this, and he's like, he believes now that if Brock's fighting in January, that Brock's not losing the title to WrestleMania. That Vince wants him to have that championship on him, that he wants him to be the WWE Universal Champion, because in Vince McMahon's eyes, and the eyes of all the wrestling fans, they're all going to be backing Brock Lesnar. I personally think DC's going to whoop him, but hey, that's just me. But we shall see. God only knows. Could you imagine just living in a world if Brock Lesnar beats Daniel Cormier and is the dual champion? Every MMA purist ever would just be, I believe, they might all just like, that's it. They might all just Heaven's Gates themselves. They wouldn't know what to do. Let's see, he shows up the next night on Raw with the belt.
You know what?
It's like, hey, look what I got.
You know, I almost want to see it for that point alone because, as I've said to you, that of all the subsectors of sports fans that I loathe, purist MMA guy who hates pro wrestling, who's butthurt about pro wrestling, is one of my most hated subsets, not counting individual fan bases like the Chowds, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, how great that would be. Do you know how much fun you could have trolling those people? He's a dual champion! He's the WWE Universal Champion and the UFC Heavyweight Champion! That would be the greatest thing in the world, Jake.
It'd be absolutely crazy. Or we could make it even. We could really. I mean, since UFC decided to take a crap on themselves, let's say DC. They have their fight and DC knocks them out, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Braun Strowman just jumps out of the crowd and cashes in Money in the Bank. Has a referee in tow, cashes in the Money in the Bank and pins Brock's ass.
You know what? Even though obviously it's not going to go anywhere, they need to have a deal. They absolutely need to have a deal with Dana White, where Braun Strowman will be captured on camera at ringside, holding the briefcase, pointing to it, and grinning. That needs to be part of this.
That would be worth every moment. The wrestling fan, it would be like, I'll be honest, when Brock walked out, walked down the ringside, I marked out. It's like, there's Brock Lesnar. It's happening. Of course, I was marking out because I thought we were heading toward the culmination of Operation Get Stipe.
Right.
But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Took a little bit of a detour, and, maybe it's a good John Jones fight, because that's the thing now. Stipe Miocic has nothing to prove.
Right.
Sure, he can go win the title back, but and then what?
Right.
He has absolutely nothing to prove. He's already established himself as the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Yes.
At this point, much to the tune of Nick Diaz and Brock Lesnar and these other names, get the big money super fights.
Right.
You don't see a lot of old man fighters, and when you do, it's very, very sad.
Right.
I'm looking at you, Bellator. It's very, very sad. It's like, I don't want to watch two guys in their 50s beat the crap out of each other. I'm good.
As somebody who's interviewed,
Stipe's not a spring chicken.
as somebody who's interviewed interviewed both Shamrocks, you're making me give a big "aww" at what you just said.
I know. I interviewed both Shamrocks at the same time. That was weird.
Wow. Okay.
That was a weird experience.
Wow.
They pretty much just bickered at each other. It was fun. This is during the ill-fated IFL years, many IFL promotion many years ago on the old PKW.
Wow.
Stomping grounds.
Now that's old school, yo. But that, well, again, as we said, coming into this theater of the absurd, as the UFC has continued its full-blown descent into the world of pro wrestling madness. And, again, we're going to have these matches coming up here. Stipe v. Brock probably in January.
You mean DCV Brock?
I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. I was going to the wishful thinking thing. That shows you how tired I am. Yeah, the DCV
Before
Brock.
we go to the finish, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who is the UFC's, besides, I guess, DC now, who is the UFC's biggest, most mainstream active star?
Wow. Active? Do we consider GSP active?
No.
Okay.
He had a one-off fight and he's supposed to give up the title. He might be having another one coming up, but I mean, is he really mainstream at this point?
That's
People know the name, but I would consider him a legend.
That's a really good question. I mean, you could say that Cormier, by becoming dual champion by way of apparently 12 donuts a day at Dunkin' Donuts to get up to 205 from the looks of it, but be that as it may, Cormier's got to be it right now, right? Who else is there?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's why we have Brock Lesnar in the title fight.
Right.
Because they haven't made any stars.
Right.
Their last stars they had were, and granted, Stipe was the heavyweight champion of the world, and we're fans of his,
Right.
I wouldn't say they made him into a star.
Oh,
There's
no.
really nothing to promote that.
No.
Other than his Negro Modelo commercial, which he did himself.
Right. Right. I mean, the UFC
it's
makes
really
Gary Bettman look good at marketing.
And Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor, let's be honest, Conor McGregor's not fighting again.
No, he's not.
Back up the Brinks truck and give him the entire kill. Let's see, give him the money they got for fighting Floyd Money Mayweather.
Right.
Here he hit Pater. Why would he go fight it? Why is he, after he made $100+ million, why is he going to go fight for $4 million for UFC?
Well,
for what? To win a belt? I think he cares. It's all about money.
Here's a question I'll give you. I'll bring it around. I'll leave it on this note here. In terms of how Brock went in and dabbled in other forms from time to time here, I've already seen this. Some talk that once boxing inevitably, it seems like, has the Wilder-Joshua fight, and you have one crowned guy at the end of it. Some possible talk, since Stipe had been a Gold Gloves champion, that he gets in there. Now, obviously, it's going to be lambs to slaughter the same way as it was when McGregor was trying to do boxing only. But as a friend of Stipe's, as somebody that wants to see him get paid, is that a risk for his health that you'd like to see him take? You think it might be worth it, or nah?
I'm sorry, it was a beef. Who was the opponent going to be?
Wilder or Joshua? If it,
they were okay, because they were talking about the winner of that fight.
Yes,
is what they're throwing that notion around.
Right.
You know what? I mean, if the money is there, sure,
okay,
do it. I mean, he's not going to get killed.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right.
I'm like, I don't know if he's going to win, but he's not going to get. That's like, it's the same thing. He does have a boxing background,
right?
But it's also the same time, I got a feeling he's got other priorities that he wants to do right now. Mainly, his wife, his kids, his family. You take this, maybe go get into acting. Go play that that big Croatian assassin guy,
right?
Or, which is really funny because I've always joked about this. We used to do it way back in the day with Stipe. Everybody didn't know. You see him and you just think he's this big, intimidating, scary dude, and he's one of the funniest people on the planet. Once you get to know him,
I've heard that.
Let him do some comedy. Let him kind of branch off into there. But again, that's entirely up to him. But as far as that goes, I'll put it to you this way: if Stipe Miocic were to fight, I'm going to say Anthony Joshua. I don't know if he's going to win. I'm just going to throw a name out there. Either one of them, if he were to fight him in a soccer stadium in Croatia, he'd get paid.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, he would.
They could sell at a 100,000-seat arena.
Right. Oh, you're right about that. And again, that may be in his future. We don't know. He may have a better chance of getting a crack at that title anytime soon before the UFC heavyweight title. I hope I'm wrong in being cynical about that, but
I get what it is what it is.
Yeah.
Here's the weird thing, circling back around too.
Yeah.
So let's just go with the most absurd thing happens and Brock Lesnar beats DC. Okay.
Yeah.
Does he just give up the WWE title at that point? Does he keep it? I mean, how does that work?
Well, does Dana White have
one month?
Does Dana White have creative control? Will he say Brock's not allowed to job? And I'm actually being I'm actually being somewhat serious in this as far as the image of UFC. Think about that. We can't have our champion being beaten by some quote-unquote fake wrestling guy. You know what I mean?
And do you think that they finally pulled the trigger on the Roman Reigns thing, and Roman Reigns wins at SummerSlam, and then Braun Strowman cashes in to make everybody happy? That's the other more plausible scenario. Could
be. And there's a lot of ways that they can go. Being pessimistic about their booking, generally speaking, is probably the most accurate way to go. So whatever the biggest brown stain we can imagine in terms of their booking is probably what it'll be. So,
Oh my God, I just figured it out.
What?
I just got it.
What?
Okay, so Brock's about to win, right?
Yeah.
The ref bump goes down out of nowhere. Daniel Cormier hits him with a chair. Drops him, hits him with a chair. Brock's down. Brock goes to chase after DC. He no-sell. What the hell? Goes to chase after DC. Brock cashes in. Pins Roman Reigns. Wins the title. Brock never loses. He looks strong leaving.
That could be it. That could be it.
Free.
And then, just to have Brock Lesnar cutting promos where he says, "You cost me the WWE Universal title."
Would be fantastic. It'd be worth every minute of it.
It would.
Somewhere Stipe's in the back going, "God damn, I'm glad I'm not a part of this shit."
Well, that's that's your mic drop moment, Jake. You're not going to improve on that one there, that particular booking scenario. So I'll give you the mic drop on that one, and I will thank you so much for, again, being a part of our great UFC discussion, as is always the case when discussing MMA with you, my man.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I appreciate being on. Anytime.
Thank you so much, buddy. The great Jake Digman, everybody, our MMA editor for FDH. And again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to mini episode number 1003 of the FDH Lounge.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, waitresses, strippers, bartenders, garbage men, janitors, microwave popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and the Periodic Table of Elements.